When we talk about the American history, excuse me, when we talk about the history of the American family, we often begin with the colonial period. But it's important to recognize that long before European settlers arrived, there was already a rich and diverse population living across what is now considered the United States. Today, we'll spend some time exploring the family structures, cultural practices, and social systems of indigenous peoples before colonization. These communities were not monolithic. They represented hundreds of distinct nations, each with its own traditions, governances, and ways of organizing family life. Understanding these foundations is essential not only to appreciate the depth of the indigenous history, but also to challenge the often Eurocentric narrative that dominates our understanding of American family life. Before 1492, North America was home to an estimated 5 to 15 million indigenous peoples. These people belonged to over 500 distinct tribal nations, ranging from nomadic hunter-gatherers to urban agricultural societies. This incredible diversity shaped a wide range of family systems and social structures. It's important to acknowledge there are several challenges in studying pre-colonial family life. First, most indigenous cultures relied on oral traditions, so written records are limited. Second, the diversity of cultures make generalizations difficult, if not impossible. Third, colonization disrupted or erased many family systems. And finally, early European accounts are often biased viewing indigenous life, specifically through a colonial or Christian lens. To understand indigenous family life, we rely on several sources: tribal oral histories, which preserve cultural knowledge from within the community, archaeological evidence, such as dwellings and tools, ethnographic studies, where anthropologists worked with tribes to document traditions, historical accounts, which, of course, can be biased and incomplete, linguistic and cultural anthropology, which helps us understand kinship and social roles, though it too can be limited by outsider perspectives. Although colonization forever altered indigenous family systems, it's important to recognize that these communities were never fully erased. Many indigenous peoples continue to exist today as sovereign nations. There are currently 574 federally recognized tribes in the United States. And while Native Americans once numbered in the millions before European contact, they still do. They make up about 2.9% of the United States, or just under 10 million people, according to the 2020 US Census. For comparison, this is about equal to the population of the 10 least populated states in the United States, including all of the populations of Wyoming, Vermont, Alaska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Delaware, Rhode Island, Montana, Maine, and New Hampshire. Despite this reduction, their cultural traditions, including family structures, remain vibrant and resilient. In fact, many indigenous societies who were historically matrilineal, placing women at the center of the family of inheritance and governance, remain so today. These values contribute to shape community life. So we're going to take a closer look at some of these traditions based on different regions in the United States as an overview. The Iroquois Confederacy was a matrilineal society. Lineage and inheritance passed through the mother, and women held significant power, including choosing clan leaders. Families lived in longhouses, which housed multiple generations from the same maternal line. Clan mothers played key roles in governance, and the Confederacy had a written constitution known as the Great Law of Peace. Many Iroquois people still adhere to the matrilineal descent, meaning family identity and lineage are traced through the mother's side. This means a man would typically move into his wife's family's home, and their children would be members of her clan. I grew up in the Southwest, and I'm very familiar with the Pueblo peoples. Many Pueblo peoples still practice aspects of matrilineal systems, though the extent and nature of the matrilineal practices can vary between different pueblos. While some practices, like property ownership and clan identity, are still passed through the female line, the influence of European colonization has led to some shifts in traditional governance structures and normalization of what we call the heteropatriarchal norms, which we will discuss more in class. The Lakota and Comanche were nomadic tribes centered around buffalo hunting. Families lived in teepees and moved frequently. Kinship ties were essential for survival, providing social cohesion and mutual support in a mobile lifestyle. The Lakota society typically continues the matrilineal tradition today. While cultural shifts have occurred, the importance of women and the matrilineal systems remains significant in contemporary Lakota society. Women are considered sacred beings and have an important voice in all aspects of life, including decision making, treaty negotiations, and all family matters.
Tribes like the Tlingit and Haida lived in permanent wooden homes and practiced potlatch ceremonies to redistribute wealth and reinforce family status. Totem poles were used to represent family lineage and tell ancestral stories. Tlingit and Haida people still have matrilineal systems today, meaning that lineage and clan identity are determined through the maternal line. This means a child's clan affiliation, inheritance, and their name are passed down from their mother's side of the family. The Appalachians were once a powerful and complex society in what is now northwest Florida, including the area around Tallahassee. They lived in large fortified villages, practiced intensive culture, and built ceremonial mounds that were central to their religious and social life. But this slide is also a moment to reflect on the devastating impact of colonization. The Appalachians, like many other indigenous peoples, were targeted by policies of displacement, forced assimilation, and violence. Events like the Trail of Tears and broader systems of white supremacy, land theft, and genocide were not accidental. They were designed to erase indigenous presence and sovereignty. That is the way America became colonized. The Appalachians are a stark example of this. Today they face a crisis of existence. While descendants remain, the tribe is not federally recognized, and their cultural continuity has been severely disrupted. This is not just history, it's a legacy that continues to affect indigenous communities today. The story of the Appalachian reminds us of the resilience required to survive such trauma and the importance and of acknowledging and confronting these truths. And given that this is Florida State University, home of the Seminoles, it's absolutely important to include them. The Seminoles descended from Creek peoples and have settled in Florida that had settled in Florida in the 1700s. They lived in extended family groups in chickees, raised open-sided homes. Seminole society was matrilineal, with clan identity passed through the mother. Women managed agriculture and households, while men hunted and protected the community. Clan identity shaped social and political life. Locally, the Otter Clan is especially prominent here in Tallahassee. The Seminole tribe of Florida, while having adapted to modern life, still practice matrilineal descent. This means that children inherit their mother's clan, and clan membership is a crucial aspect of Seminole identity and social structure. While traditional matrilocal residence, living with the wife's mother, is no longer the norm, the clan continues to play a significant role in tribal politics and relationships. The indigenous tribe that is most associated with Tallahassee is actually the Muskogee Nation, also a Creek, part of the Creek Nation like the Seminoles. It has a significant history and presence in Tallahassee, Florida. While the Muskogee people were forcibly removed from their ancestral lands in the southeast, including Tallahassee, by the federal government, their legacy and descendants remain connected to the area. The Muskogees Nation of Florida, a state-recognized tribe, is centered in Bruce, Florida, and is distinct from the federally recognized Muskogee Nation in Oklahoma.
Although the Muskogee Creek Nation was forcibly removed from the Tallahassee area in 1834, not all families left. Some remained, hiding their identity to avoid persecution, and survived under colonial and later Jim Crow systems. Whoa. For today's flipped lecture quiz, I want you to engage with the land beneath your feet when you are standing in your home, not just geographically, but historically and culturally. Please visit Native Land, an interactive map that helps identify the indigenous nations whose ancestral lands you now call home. Once you've found the name of the nation or tribe associated with your home, do a bit of research. Do they still exist today? If so, where are they located? If not, what happened to them? What historical events or policies contributed to their displacement or disappearance? This is not just an exercise in history, it's about recognizing the ongoing legacies of colonization and the resilience of the indigenous peoples of Americas. Please approach this with care, curiosity, and respect. Your findings will help us deepen the understandings of the diverse and complex foundations of the family inside the United States. To connect this through our history, after colonization, there was a significant influx of Puritan and quote-unquote colonial families. The Puritan and colonial families were heavily patriarchal. The father held authority, and the family was seen as both a productive unit and a moral one. High mortality rates and the need for labor shaped family roles and responsibilities, which we will explore more as we discuss the demographic transition in future classes. I'll see you in class today.